Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by SonicWeb Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget, SonicWeb Studios is the answer. SonicWeb Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. SonicWeb Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love will be the first go missing. It's available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has garnered great reviews and even loved and enjoyed by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes, Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today for Goes Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon. Also, check out The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com on over 40 podcast platforms, heard in over 100 countries, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also, Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, Apple Music, and now heard on HamiltonRadio.net, Oldies FM, Diamonds Radio, and a few of the networks coming soon. Take the Mike Wagner Show on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter, along with TikTok. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. T-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, hoodies, baseball gear. Makes great gifts 24/7. Go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia for great books like Missing, Once, and Wrinkles. Also t-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, phone cases, and more. Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia. Check it out today. I'll support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, themikewagnershow.com. You can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com. But the Mike Wagner Show, make sure you do so today. We're here with a terrific gentleman who was born in St. Louis. He is multi-talented. He's a comedian, magician, and ventriloquist, and one of the hottest corporate entertainers, evidenced by sold-out shows and over 150 million views online. We'll talk about that. He performs over 180 shows at comedy clubs, Las Vegas, also cruise ships, Fortune 500 companies, colleges, and more. He was also appeared on The Ellen Show, Beverly Hills 90210, After Judgment, and more. He also hosted a mind-boggling variety show, which certainly is mind-boggling. He was a former racquetball player, and he was the youngest in history and won a record number of Southern California tournaments until the age of 26. And we'll talk about how he did that, but certainly no dummy to the circuit. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studios in beautiful downtown Los Angeles, the amazing multi-talented comedian, magician, and ventriloquist, and one of the hottest corporate entertainers around. Once, ladies and gentlemen, the multi-talented Andy Gross. Andy, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, it's great to have you on board, Andy. So you're born in St. Louis, and you're a comedian, magician, and a ventriloquist. One of the main that's come on board, making a nice comeback in the mannequin business, and one of the hottest corporate entertainers, evidenced by sold-out shows and over 150 million views online. You performed over 180 shows at comedy clubs, Las Vegas, also cruise ships, Fortune 500 companies. You appeared on The Ellen Show. You're also a former racquetball player who won record number of Southern California tournaments. You're also the youngest as well, too, and you retired at 26. And you also have a mind-boggling variety show, which you did a live one, and you've got a brand new one on YouTube. And I guess, are you kidding me? That's the name of it. And before we get into all that, tell us how you first got started, Andy.
Oh gosh, let's see. Well, I was in St. Louis. I was only about 7 or 8 years old when I got into racquetball. That was the first thing. We're going back early here, and I started playing racquetball. Yeah, I started playing racquetball, and my brother was playing racquetball in St. Louis, and it was a hot sport, one of the hottest sports in the country, one of the fastest growing sports in the country at that time. And it happened to be in St. Louis. There were 5 of the top 8 professional players came out of St. Louis. For whatever reason, St. Louis was like the breeding ground for professional racquetball players. In fact, the number 1 player of all time, and probably the biggest name in racquetball, if anyone were to mention a name, would be a guy by the name of Marty Hogan. And he was right from St. Louis. And this is a guy who was making $1 million a year playing racquetball, which was like unbelievable. So us as kids seeing this guy, it was like, he was like incredible to see this. So my brother and I, we both started playing a lot of racquetball. We were playing every day. And it seemed like racquetball was going to be my entire life. I mean, that was what I was destined to do, to play racquetball and play professionally. So, but about when I was about 9 or 10 years old, I saw the movie Magic with Anthony Hopkins and Anne Margaret. I think it was Anthony Hopkins, maybe first American film actually, and it was about a deranged ventriloquist that has the dummy do all this killing. And I thought to myself, hey, this could come in handy later on in life. Maybe I should learn this. And so I really got intrigued with ventriloquism after seeing that movie. I remember asking my parents over and over, hey, how do they do that? How do they do that? How do they do that? And so my dad finally said, I don't know, just go to the library and figure it out. And I did that.
Typical dad.
Yeah. But he did know. To this day, it's actually a mystery. Actually, he did know a few things. He goes, they use certain letters and they substitute certain letters so their lips don't have to move. And he was right. And to this day, he's passed a couple of years ago, but I think about it. I go, how did he know that? How did he even know that back then? Which is pretty cool. But he was right about that. And he was also right about going to the library. And then my mom found a guy that was a ventriloquist in town in St. Louis, and she called the different hotels until she got him on the phone and asked him how to learn. And I ordered a course. This guy told us where to order a course in the mail on how to fool your friends, throw your voice, be the life of the party. And I did. We ordered that course, came in the mail. I studied it every day at 9, 10 years old, and I learned how to throw my voice. But ventriloquism was more of a hobby. It was always racquetball, which is the number one thing. And then I had a good friend that did some magic. He showed me a couple card tricks, and I started doing magic. And all of a sudden, the magic of ventriloquism just went hand in hand. And I just loved it as a hobby. But again, racquetball was the number one thing. So at 15, I became the youngest player to get on the professional racquetball tour. And it was fantastic because I was traveling around. I was 15, 16 years old, had all these endorsements. I'm playing tournaments. Racquetball was the hottest sport in the country. They were building courts so fast. And I eventually moved to Los Angeles at about 19 for racquetball. And all of a sudden, one day I get a call, I was like 25 or 26, racquetball pretty much died. I mean, the sport just died. It was crazy. It just all of a sudden went from being the fastest growing sport to they couldn't knock these courts down fast enough. And I think one of the reasons is because you couldn't really televise it because we were hitting the ball 150 miles an hour. And it's an incredible spectator sport and a fantastic sport, but you couldn't really pick it up on television. So once the sponsors found out that, hey, we can't really play in front of millions of people, we can play in front of, 500 and, live, but you can't get the millions of people watching on television. They started pulling out. So at that point, I went from making great money, as a kid playing racquetball to all of a sudden making nothing. And I didn't have college because I was making such good money playing sports. I said, what am I going to do now? So the natural progression I thought was to become a ventriloquist. Everybody goes from racquetball to ventriloquism, I think, right? It's pretty normal, And that's what I did. I was in Los Angeles. I thought, okay, I'm going to go to open mic nights and just do some magic and see what I can do. And I did that. I went to these open mics. And before long, they said, hey, it's pretty good, but can you make it a little funnier? I was doing the magic, but they said, make it funnier because we're a comedy club. So I started adding humor to it. And then they said, come back next week, come back the following week. And then I began the middle act. Then I started doing some cruise ships and corporate shows. And I never looked back. And, 25 years later, here I am and loving it. It doesn't feel like I've ever worked a day in my life, basically, which is fantastic for me.
It sounds really interesting too. And getting back to racquetball for just a minute,
Sure.
what was that one precise moment that, or should I just ask, how'd you actually first get involved with racquetball? You started around what, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's like, what was that one moment that actually got you going into racquetball?
Oh, I know it exactly. I'm 7 years old and my big brother played. I mean, he played and it's like I was tagging along and I said, he's playing, I'm going to play, and I would just tag along and I would play with him. And he was nice enough to always let me come in and help me a little bit because he was better for a long time. And that's how I started, basically because of him. It was because of the big brother. And our parents would take us up there, they encouraged it. And then we became friends with a lot of these racquetball guys, because there were a lot of kids about our age. And in fact, there was a junior national circuit during that time. And it was huge, kids playing all over the country. And we would dominate, St. Louis would dominate every age division from the 10 and under, 13 and under, 15 and under, and 18 and under. There was a winner from St. Louis. One year we won every junior national title. And then the number one player in the pro level was this Marty Hogan. So we pretty much dominated. Why St. Louis did, I don't know, but it did. For a long, long time, it really did.
That's rather fascinating as well too, and it gets you wonder like what are these racquetball stars doing, especially Marty Hogan.
He was just an incredible athlete. He really was, and he was the first. What happened was the sport was still pretty new when he got into it, and he was a 17-year-old kid that was just an exceptional athlete. And he actually was in the ABC Wild World of Sports where they compete against other athletes. Herschel Walker was in there with them, and I think he came in second or third that year.
Wow.
Against it's swimming, every sport you could imagine. So the guy was an incredible athlete. So probably no matter what sport he would have picked, he would have excelled for sure. He really truly was. I mean, he looked like he was built like an animal too, and um, so he got into the sport at the perfect time because really it became professional, but these guys really weren't professional top athletes. So when he got into the sport, he just dominated for the first 5 or 6 years because he was the first true athlete to get into the sport. And he was hitting the ball 140 miles an hour at that time. And these guys had never seen anything like it. These guys were really businessmen, that would go at night and start playing racquetball. They formed a professional tour and it got hotter and hotter and hotter. The sport kept growing and growing. They didn't even know how fast it was going to grow. And so he hit it at the perfect time, and racquetball was just growing like crazy. So he had all the big endorsements and did quite well with racquetball.
And you also had some endorsements as well too with your
Oh yeah,
ventriloquism as well too. And yeah, I also forgot to mention you also were in Beverly Hills 90210, and
yeah.
you also had Trance, and also After Judgment, and Las Vegas season 5, and maybe a bit about the appearances as well. I mean, you actually play a ventriloquist on some.
I did. Yeah, yeah. You know what? I've been lucky enough and fortunate enough being in Los Angeles to be able to do some of these television things, and they were great. I mean, when I like on the Ellen show, she had me on, and she happens to love magicians. So when I had one of these viral videos came out, they contacted me and said, "Will you come on?" And I said, "Yeah, Ellen show, of course." So that was great. And she was wonderful. She was great to me, and had a fun little spot on there. And Beverly Hills 90210, that was the original one that was very popular. I think it was the most watched show maybe ever at the time.
Oh
And I
wow,
did. I
yeah,
played a.
yeah,
I,
season 1,
it
I
was
remember that.
huge.
Yes.
Oh, it was huge. That show was huge. And so it was fun. I remember sitting we had the trailer, and I didn't have a huge part, but I played the ventriloquist and, a few lines in there and everything. And I think the dummy had more lines than me. I'm not sure we got paid extra, but I remember going to the audition. It was kind of funny. I had to get to the audition, and I had an agent at the time. They called me and they said, "Hey, can you get to Hollywood by 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock?" And I said, "Well, I'm way in the valley, and I don't know if you know Los Angeles, but it's pretty far. And I mean, it
Mhm.
couldn't have been more than 35, 40 miles, but in Los Angeles with traffic, that's 2.5 hours. It's crazy." I said, "I got to go home first. I got to get the dummy. I got to this. I got to that." So they said, "Just get there. They're going to wait for you. They're going to wait." And I said, "I'll
Mm.
try." And I'll never forget. I put the dummy. I strapped him in the seatbelt next to me. So and I put him in the passenger seat, and we took the diamond lane. And I was just hoping the police would just think it's another person or kid sitting there. And that was my first line because I was about an hour late. And these casting directors are all pissed. They're sitting there waiting for me. And I come walking in with this puppet, and they're like, "Oh boy, here we go." And I said, "Hey, we got here as fast as we could." I put him in the seatbelt. We took the diamond lane, and that kind of broke the ice. They started laughing, and we had a good audition. They said, "Can you be here tomorrow at 6 a.m.?" I said, "Yeah." "Good, you got the job." I said, "Okay, great." So and it was neat because at the time that was the original cast, and I remember sitting in the trailer and Tori Spelling and Ian Ziering, I guess it was, and a couple, and who's since passed was the big one on there, Luke Perry, Luke
Luke
Perry.
Perry, and
Yeah, they
Shannon
were all
Doherty.
sitting in my
Yes.
yeah. They were sitting in the trailer with me, and they were, I'm showing them card tricks and doing magic tricks, and they're playing with the puppet and stuff, and they were great kids. They were all really, really super nice to me.
Oh my gosh, that's really interesting.
It was
We'll
neat.
talk more about your amazing ventriloquism career with Andy Gross, but first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget, Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is illusion and those you love will be the first to go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson has garnered great reviews, and Eve 11 enjoys about how its celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today for Goes Missing by Mia Molson, available on Amazon. Also, check out The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com on over 40 podcast platforms, heard in over 100 countries, including hamiltonradio.net, Oldies FM, Diamonds Radio, and more. Take us with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to The Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Follow The Mike Wagner Show on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok today. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com and check out The Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Molson for great books, merchandise, and more. Also support The Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, TheMikeWagnerShow.com. You can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com at The Mike Wagner Show. Make sure you do so today. We're here with the amazing multi-talented comedian, magician, and ventriloquist Andy Gross here on The Mike Wagner Show. And, going back to your love of puppets and everything else too, and maybe talk about some of your favorite puppets, your favorite cartoon characters, TV shows, and everything like that. And who are some of your favorite actors and actresses, and also some of your TV shows growing up?
Yeah, well, I can tell you right now that, well, a little nerdy, I guess. I mean, I liked Edgar Bergen. I don't know if you remember. A lot of people probably won't remember Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy.
I
Some might not even
remember.
remember.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. We're in the same ballpark. Who doesn't
and it's
remember?
funny because well, a lot of people, you'd be surprised. A lot of people I used to say, a Candace Bergen's father, but now people don't remember Candace Bergen. It's like, oh boy, now I'm going to say, who else can I reference? But he was really the first really, really popular ventriloquist. I mean, Charlie McCarthy and Mortimer Snerd. Those were the big ones. And I used to, as a kid, I would watch that kind of stuff. And then there was Paul Winchell and
I
Jerry Mahoney.
remember
You might
him.
remember
Yes.
Paul Winchell, Jerry Mahoney, and Knucklehead. They had a television show in the 50s, which I'm just too young, obviously. But just because I'm into ventriloquism, I happened to watch that, watch some of the reruns in the show, and it was great. So those kind of guys. And of course, I would watch all the magic guys. Doug Henning and David Copperfield came along, and those kind of guys I would love. I would sit and watch, Doug Henning specials, and my dad was kind of into this stuff. He liked it as much as I did in a way. He didn't perform, but he loved this stuff. So he would secretly like to take me, to Doug Henning and to all these big shows when they'd come to St. Louis. So that was great too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, so I saw those guys perform live, which was really neat.
Mm-hmm. And also, like, in terms of TV shows and everything else, how about like some cartoon characters, maybe inspired by puppets and everything else? I could think of the Muppet Show as well, too, as kind of like an offshoot in a way. Yes.
Yeah, Jim Henson. Jim Henson was huge, and he was a big fan of Edgar Bergen. And I'll tell you what, Paul Winchell did a lot of those voiceovers for cartoons. A lot of people don't realize he was the voice of Tigger, the original voice of Tigger.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of cartoon character voices he did. He did Scrubbing Bubbles. He was the Scrubbing Bubbles voice that would go down, and which was really the same voice as he did for Knucklehead.
That was like for Dow. That was like for Dow, wasn't Scrubbing Bubbles made by Dow Company for the bathtub?
Yes,
I think that's it.
so.
Yes,
Yes.
I remember. Scrubbing Bubbles.
Yes. And it would be almost the same voice that Tigger used and that he used for Knucklehead.
I mean the one.
That's it. Yes. Yeah. And so he was a great ventriloquist and created some great characters for sure. But cartoons, I mean, growing up, I mean, I loved all the older cartoons, Heckle and Jekyll. I don't know if you remember them.
I remember. Yes. Saturday morning cartoons. Yes.
Yep. Those are great.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I could also think back too. I had a guy on my show as well too. And he was inspired by the older cartoons, Tennessee Tuxedo, Underdog. And of course, besides, the Bugs Bunny and all that, Woody Woodpecker, that was my favorite. And then I think you also had, I'm trying to remember some of the other ones too. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to the Wayback Machine than this one. So
Oh, there was some great ones. Speedy Gonzalez and all those guys were so good. I mean, they were the best, those old cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they don't have those much anymore, but loved them. But I would just, there wasn't that many ventriloquists on when I was learning. The only ventriloquist that ever was on television at the time was Jay Johnson, who's an incredible ventriloquist too in his own right, probably one of the best technical ventriloquists out there. He's still around, and he was on Soap. Do you remember the TV show called Soap?
I remember. Yeah, I think that made Billy Crystal famous.
It did. Absolutely. He played, I think, Billy Crystal's brother on the show. But every Tuesday night or when it was on, I would tune into that show because Jay Johnson, the ventriloquist, would have 3 or 4 lines every show. And that's the only place I could see a ventriloquist as a kid. So pretty neat to to see him. But he's a great guy. And ironically enough, my daughter became an actress out in Los Angeles and kind of well
Wow.
known. And she ended up doing a TV show with him, Jay Johnson. And he was like my idol. This guy, I said, Jay Johnson, because as a kid, again, the only ventriloquist you could see, I go, boy, one day if I could just meet him and see him, I'd have it made. And he ended up playing her father on CSI. I believe it was CSI. She was in the episode. She was worked a lot, but she was in, I believe it was CSI, but he played the father and he was a ventriloquist in the episode and she was the daughter. It was so ironic. And I go, well, what about me? I'm a ventriloquist. Why but he got, who knew? Who knew he got the part,
he'd be like, hey, dummy, pay attention to me, will ya?
Yeah, I'm really her dad, by the way. I look a lot like her. But
exactly.
but he was so sweet to her, and he's a great guy.
Now, was that the CSI New York, Los Angeles, or was it Las Vegas? Which CSI was in particular?
I think it was Los Angeles.
It was Los Angeles. Okay.
It was. I think. So. Well, it was the big main one. I got to look it up. I'm embarrassed to say I don't know, but it was the big one because she was working quite a bit. She did a lot. If you look her up, you'll be, oh yeah, I know who she is. She worked.
And plus you also carry a number of puppets as well too to your shows, like name off some of the characters that you have on there, and maybe just tell us about some of those, what inspired you to create the characters. Yes,
I love the old ventriloquism dummies. I love the history of it, and I actually own, it's going off a little bit, I own probably about 250 or even more now ventriloquist dummies, but old ones, not that I necessarily use. These are ones dating back to the 1800s, early 1900s, that were used in vaudeville or before, used over in England by clowns. And I collect them. So I have a strange, odd collection of old ventriloquist dummies, one of the largest really in the country. And I'm just fascinated by the history of the ventriloquism and all these puppets. And I have a couple really, really rare ventriloquist dummies. One that was made in the 30s by two brothers named Glenn and George McElroy. And these guys were only 17, 18 years old, and they became like the Stradivarius of all ventriloquist dummies. The heads were so intricately made. This was during pre-World War II almost. And these kids, they're young, 17, 18 years old, and they made these dummies that had movements that were incredible, free-floating weights in the head, so the eyes would move no matter how you turn the head up or down. The eyebrows move, the hair would stand up, the ears would wiggle, upper lips, the tongue would stick out, all these movements. When you take off the back of the head, it looks like a clock in there. I mean, it's just incredible workmanship. And they only made about 16 of these. And 8 of them are in a museum in Kentucky, a ventriloquist museum. I think David Copperfield owns a few of them. Jeff Dunham, who's another huge ventriloquist, owns a couple of them.
That's another big name out there that's making a big name, making
huge.
Ventriloquism a comeback. Oh my gosh, I think I saw one of that was like Ahmed the terrorist. See, flame.
And it kind of pisses me off. Huh? No, I'm just kidding. No, it's
I killed you.
It's great for me. Yeah, he's playing for 10,000 people in arenas now, and great for him because I mean, guy worked incredibly hard and he's incredibly talented. He really is. And there's a guy that created. Talk about characters. I mean, he's probably the only other ventriloquist that has been as successful as Edgar Bergen with his characters. Because that's really what it's about. It's about creating these characters. Like you hit the nail on the head when you see like Jim Henson, those characters and the cartoon characters. These are, in Disney, they created the best characters that you could remember. And that's what Edgar Bergen had. He had Charlie McCarthy, Mortimer Snerd, and then Jeff Dunham came out with, Peanut. And you can describe his characters in one word, the old man, the angry old man with his arms folded, or Ahmed, the dead terrorist. I mean, these are characters that just people love. They love. And with the success of the internet, it's not only in the United States, it's all over the world. And even with my videos, when my videos went viral, it wasn't just performing in the United States. All of a sudden, when I went viral, I was getting shows in Dubai. I was going to Paris and England, and what else was I going there over there? Barcelona, just from doing these viral videos. I mean, 10 years ago, I'd have never had the opportunity to do that. So, I mean, Jeff goes over to other countries now and he sells out over there too. And not because he's known from his Comedy Central specials, because of the internet, which is pretty neat.
And you also have a really mind-boggling special too. It's called the Mind-Boggling Variety Show. And tell us more about that.
Yeah, well, I have a show that tours around the country, and right now I'm actually in Florida, by the way, because I have a residency in Florida in Panama City Beach at Harpoon Harry's. I did a show for these guys. They had a comedy night in November. And it was a great venue right on the beach. It's big enough, but yet intimate, like a comedy club where I really started. I love comedy clubs. So they asked me, they said, hey, would you want to come back and do a whole summer run? And I thought to myself, well, right on the water, I travel 280 days out of the year to stay put for 3 months. This might be kind of nice. I'll have my kids. It's summertime. I'll have my kids, my wife come out and hang out here for a while. And we're in the middle of that right now, and I'm loving it. It's called Harpoon Harry's, and it's in Panama City Beach, Florida. So if anyone's out there, I'll be there through August, Wednesday through Sunday, 9 o'clock. And it's a great, great, great venue. I'm doing some of the illusions and the magic and the ventriloquism. So it's great. Loving that.
And certainly is great as well, too. And I'll have you perform a little magic in just a bit. And are you kidding me? We're going to find out about that.
That's what it is.
Yes, you listen to The Mike Widener Show at themikewidnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Also brought to you by official sponsor of The Mike Widener Show, international warring author Mia Molson's The Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. We'll be back with the multi-talented comedian, magician, and ventriloquist Andy Gross after this timeout. We're back with the amazing multi-talented comedian, magician, and ventriloquist Andy Gross here on the Mike Widener Show, and going from racquetball to ventriloquism and just enjoying life as well too. And of course, you got to ask the question. You got a new one. Are you kidding me? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, that's exciting for me. That's a big deal for me. I came out with a new special called Andy Gross. Are you kidding me? And when I started doing these videos online and they started going viral, I thought, this is great. But now I want to do a whole special. I want my own special. And I went ahead and I did it during the pandemic, right after the pandemic, actually. I thought, you know what, I'm going to put it on YouTube and I'm going to let everyone be able to watch this thing. And that's what we did. I went out, I filmed a lot of new stuff. I took some of the old popular stuff and I put it together into one show called Andy Gross, Are You Kidding Me? And we put it up on YouTube. And it's doing great right now. I mean, it really is. People are loving it. It's getting great reviews. And I'm going to keep those episodes going. And I think that's really the way for me to go right now, is because I like to tour. I'm kind of a road warrior, so I love touring. And as long as my videos are doing well online, people they don't maybe necessarily know my name. It might not be that big, but they do know the videos. So when I come to a town and someone sees those videos, they go, wait a minute, this guy, wow, he's going to be here. I've seen his videos. Let's go check this guy out. So we're filling seats. We're going to theaters, these 500 to 700 seat theaters, and we're filling them up. And I'm having the best time, and the audiences are coming out and they're enjoying themselves. And so as long as I keep making these videos, I'll keep filling seats, and that's what I love to do, because I love to get out there and meet people and perform live and make them laugh. I really do, because it was tough during the pandemic when I couldn't perform. I was like, I wanted to get out there. I was having to perform and do these pranks on my wife and kids, and they were getting sick of me. They were like, get out of the house. I did. They're like, are you kidding? This is ridiculous.
And you also probably drove the puppets crazy as well too. So
I did.
Kill you.
I did. I drove them nuts.
Oh my gosh, too.
But yeah, but the show is doing well, and I'm real proud of that, because I did work hard on that. And there's a lot of new stuff. And it's funny because we do some pretty wild stuff on there. So, I think people go check it out. They're going to see some new stuff as well as the old stuff. But I've been having fun with that. I really have. And I got so much more stuff coming out. But I got to get through this residency that I took. And then I'll get back to LA and I'll start filming more.
Mm-hmm. And of course, getting back to residency as well, to Los Angeles. And of course, maybe you can perform a couple of tricks as well, too, here on the Mike Widener Show, since being a magician. And
let's do it. I'm ready.
Absolutely, yes.
Right here.
Okay.
I'm prepared.
All right.
What is that? Hold on.
I think that pulled a magic trick out.
There we go. There we go. Okay, good. Okay. All right. Now let's assume, Mike, that I have 4 cards right here. All right. I have 4 queens, actually. 4 queens. I'm going to take 2 of them. Watch. 1, 2. I removed 2 of the queens. Did I remove the 2 red ones or the 2 black ones? You tell me.
I'm going to go red.
Perfect. Gone. You're right. Now that leaves us the 2 black ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want spades or clubs? You tell me.
Spades.
Watch.
Woohoo!
Now check this out. Now you could have said anything, but look, this is the only red one. It's the only red one out of the blue.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I didn't even bother bringing the other queens.
How do you like that?
Huh?
Oh my gosh,
Could have
yes.
said anything. Could have said anything. Well, here's
Uh-huh.
another one for you. I'll tell you what. Here's one for you. Should we do another? Ready for
Absolutely.
another one?
Yeah,
Okay. All
sure.
right. It's always hard to do magic on radio. You know what I mean? It was like, but then again, Edgar Bergen was a ventriloquist on the radio.
Mhm.
How about that? You know?
And he's no dummy about that, right, dummy?
That's right. The funniest story I ever heard about him, though, when he was really popular, I think it was Chase and Sanborn Coffee Company. They wanted to hire just Charlie McCarthy. They said, you know what? We want to hire Charlie McCarthy. Edgar's not that funny. They didn't know he was a ventriloquist team. They wanted just Charlie. They said, no, you don't get it. That's a ventriloquist. He is the dummy. You know, he's the same guy. I thought it was kind of an interesting story. Okay. So I have a deck of cards. I want you to think of any card, any card. I have no idea what you're thinking, right?
Okay.
But I have prepared this deck by reversing one card. So there's one card reversed in this deck. I want you to call out loud the card you actually are thinking of right now.
Ace of spades.
Kind of a common one. Do you want to stick with that one or change? Totally up to you.
Ace of spades.
Ace of spades. Watch. I'm going to take the cards out. They're right in your view the entire time. I'm going to go through the cards looking one by one for one card reversed. And there is one card reversed right there. Check it out. Watch. Boom.
Woo! Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. I love it.
Magic is wild. I mean, you know, it's to me, I get such a kick out of it that you can just fool someone like that. You know, it's like, wow, in the world, you know, some of these, and you really can't figure them out. I remember as a kid, my dad would always say to me when he took me to these magic shows, he would say, "You really want to know how it's done?" I go, "Yeah, I want to know." Go to the library. No, he didn't say that. He would say, he goes, "If you think about it, if you really think about it, you should be able to figure it out." So in other words, he said, you know, David Copperfield vanished the Statue of Liberty. He goes, think about it. Did it really move? Probably not. He didn't move the Statue of Liberty. It didn't disappear. So think about other ways that it could have happened. And it was a great little lesson that he taught me. So you can really kind of work backwards and think about it. But some of these tricks you just can't figure out. I mean, little ones like this, you can't figure out, you know. And the best audiences, and that's only me. I mean, only guys like there's certain people that have that brain that just want to figure it out. But my favorite audience is the audience that comes in there and they just want to sit back, suspend their disbelief, and enjoy the heck out of magic. You know, they know that it's not real. They know that I'm not really doing this stuff, but they just want to be entertained. And I love that. And then you get a few people every once in a while that like come out and they're talking and they're trying to expose you as you're performing. And I just look at the guy and go, hey, let me ask you something. Are you the same guy that goes to the ballet and trips the dancers? You know, just enjoy the magic. It's not real, okay? I don't want to break your fantasy here, but it's not real. But just enjoy it. You
Mhm.
know?
E exactly it too, and of course, you know, we come to be entertained, we pay good money for it, so that's a thing too. So yes,
That's
and,
right. That's
right,
right.
yes, and it's just amazing stuff too, and where can we find all your, work at, Andy?
If you go, most of it's on YouTube. If you go to Andy Gross Live, not dead, Andy Gross Live, and that's where most of my stuff is. However, TikTok has gotten very popular too, and I have a TikTok, Andy Gross Live, as well as Instagram, which is Andy Gross Live as well. So it's always Andy Gross Live and my website, andygrosslive.com. So if you go to any of those, you're going to find most of the work right there. But really, YouTube is where I put the special up. Are you kidding me? And you can see it right there. And so anybody who wants to go watch it, it really is a lot of fun. And like I said, I did put a lot of work into it. I'm proud of it, and we're gonna have a lot more coming out.
And we're certainly looking forward to it as well. We're here with, comedian, magician, and ventriloquist Andy Gross here on the Mike Wagner Show, and just a few more things, Andy. Love to have you back, and,
Sure.
what else can we expect from you in 2022 and beyond, Andy?
Well, I mean, my goal is to continue making more episodes of this show, and for sure more videos. I will say this too, that it's interesting. In the last few years, everything's kind of moved from longer videos to these real short form content videos now. I mean, people have their attention spans with this TikTok. You know, during the COVID, it's 15 seconds, 30-second videos are what people like, and I find that my shorter videos are actually more popular sometimes than the long videos. Although people will sit down at night and they'll turn on an hour special or 45-minute special and just sit back and relax and watch the whole show. So I'm doing both. I'm doing the short form content and I'm doing the longer stuff too. And I'm going to continue probably ramping up the touring more than ever this coming year. So once I finish this residency, it goes through the end of August. In September, I'm already back on the road. In October, it's like crazy, and then it'll just keep going from there.
And certainly looking forward to as well, Andy. Who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a tough one. You know what? Probably I have to say, I know it's kind of sounds a little corny now, but my family really. I mean, they've been the biggest supporters. You know, my dad was a huge supporter of it, what I did, and my wife, my kids, they all love what I do, and without them, I couldn't be doing this. I really couldn't.
Hmm. And certainly amazing too. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
If they want to do what I'm doing, is that what you
It
mean?
can be anything in general.
Well, they should probably wait till I retire and then they should start. No, you know what I will say? I will say this. This is what I found for me. In nowadays with the internet, I wouldn't wait around. If you're an entertainer, you're doing any kind of entertainment, you have the internet in front of you now. You don't have to wait around for Hollywood to find you. You can come to them now. You know, you have a podcast like you're doing it. You know, millions of people might be watching you. I put a video out there. Millions of people found me. Now I'm touring. I didn't have to go get on Johnny Carson. You know, that was great in the old days. If you could get on the Tonight Show
Oh,
with
I
Johnny
love
Carson,
Johnny Carson. He was
my
great.
favorite. Now he was a ventriloquist and magician too, by the way. I don't know if you knew
Hmm.
that, but he started as a ventriloquist magician, and he loved it. And he was one of the only talk show hosts that would really give respect to magicians and ventriloquists. I mean, like Letterman would kind of make fun of him. You know, we have ventriloquist week. He was making fun of them at first, but all of a sudden they became very popular because ventriloquism got so popular. Which, by the way, I didn't really touch on that, but an interesting thing is the ventriloquism and magic in the last 10 years has gotten so enormously popular again. And I think a lot because of America's Got Talent. Penn and Teller has a show called Fool Us.
Hmm.
And really, out of the last, 11 years, maybe America's Got Talent has been on, there's been 3 or 4 ventriloquists that have won. And there's been like 3 or 4 magicians that have won out of the 11 years. So it used to be in the old days, you'd call some bookers and they would say, "Yeah, well, you know, ventriloquism doesn't sell well. We don't know. It's a dying art." But now I can kind of, "Oh yeah, well, have you watched America's Got Talent? Have you watched these shows? Because I think you're wrong." You know, and now Darcy Lynn, who was a young ventriloquist girl that won America's Got Talent, she's got it with kids. Kids are back in this. I mean, I'm doing my shows and kids are showing up. I'm looking out in the audience and they've brought puppets to the show, which is
Wow.
really neat. So kids are in the audience holding their puppets up, you know, and you know, coming up to me and talking to me afterwards. And I just think it's great. I mean, it couldn't be a better time for me, and it's going to keep the art going for a long time, both magic and ventriloquism, which is really great.
Hmm. And certainly as well too. And we're here with comedian, magician, ventriloquist, the multi-talented Andy Gross here on the Mike Wagner Show. Andy, very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Learned a lot from
Thank
you.
you. It's great.
And looking forward to having you again soon. Make sure you keep us up to date, keep in touch. Love to have you back. And once again, tell us about your upcoming projects, what's your website, how do people contact, where can people purchase or check out your works?
Yep. Go to andygrosslive.com. And that's andygrosslive.com for the website. It's Andy Gross Live for the YouTube, Andy Gross Live for Instagram, and Andy Gross Live for Facebook, and Andy Gross Live for TikTok. So many, I forget them all. But it's
It's-
always Andy Gross Live. If you just type in Andy Gross Live, you're going to find me.
yes, we certainly will. Once again, Andy, very big thanks for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Learned a lot. Looking forward to having you again soon. Make sure you keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Love to have you back. We wish you all best. And you've got a great future ahead of you, definitely.
Thank you, Mike. Same to you. Thanks.